What do we got so far? What have we worked on today? We got a beautiful red app. Oh my bad. Fuck, keep doing it. We got a beautiful red app. And it's got some beautiful movies in it. And we can scroll to the bottom and get additional movies. Right? So how can we add a search bar? So at this point, I would suggest us to go ahead and start working on the layout. Okay? So what does that mean? I'm going to look at our documentation. I'm going to find navbar, right? And I'm just going to copy the example that they have. Copy it, and then what am I going to do now? I'm going to paste it. I'm going to paste it into the body of our, above the header here, okay? Now we're about to get a bunch of complaints, okay? It's saying, hey man, you can't do that. You need to import the required components, okay? So, we copy and paste over here. We see that we need a nav bar. We need a nav. We need a nav drop down. We need a form. We need a form control. I didn't even think about this. All I had to do was look for red squiggly lines. Okay? I don't want you guys to spend too much time thinking either. What am I looking at right here? Did I have that memorized? No, I just looked on line 60. I see there's a red squiggly line right here. It's telling me, hey man, you can't use something that's not defined. There is no such thing as form control because we have not defined it. And are we going to define it? Are we going to write something that's called form control? No, we're going to import it. That's simple. I save and I refresh. We look at the application. Now we see we have a beautiful nav bar. Okay? What's the objective here to using this library? Because I don't want to have to do this myself. You guys notice as we scroll, it responds, right? Doesn't this just work? Isn't that beautiful? All I had to do was copy and paste what? One section of code. So now the question becomes, I want to type in here to filter my movies. What can I do? Yes. Well, the first thing we need to do is make sure that we can pay attention to when the user's typing. Right? So what is the thing that we commonly do? What's it called? The property that pays attention to that. On change, that's exactly what it's called. And where are we going to put this? In the form. Right? So we change on change equals, and we pass a number here? A string? An object? A function. And the first thing we do is just console log, make sure we can test when this bad boy fires. So we save. We jump back over to our code, we start typing, and we see that it's firing very quickly, okay? So now we're not interested in it firing. We're interested in the value. And this is going to be hidden inside of an event object. And inside of that object, there's gonna be a key called target, and inside of that, there's another key called value. That's what we want. So now I save this, and I test our console log, and let's see what happens. If I type in red Superman, I get red Superman over here in our console. Correct? So that's not what actually we want, okay? What we want is what? We want to define a function that's going to filter. So I'm going to call this filter movies. That's going to be a function, and it's going to be actually a method. It's actually going to be called a method because it's attached to our class. So it's a method. And what are we going to do here? We're going to pass it. This dot filter movies. What are we going to pass it? e.target.value. Very simple, okay? So if I jump over to filter movies, what am I going to have to change? I got to change it right here. This is search term. Search term, okay? So then we can console.log, search term, and we'll see the value of this variable. And then we hop back over to our browser. As we start typing, our search term does in fact fire. Okay, so what's the next step? Now, whenever we have the search term, we're constantly looking at the search term as the user's typing. Now, for every single character, we need to compare that search term with the title of the movie. First off, we can do title, we can do body, we can do authors, or it's infinite. What if we had the data to all the actresses and actors? We could search by movies too. What if I typed in Brad Pitt? Right? I should expect to see a bunch of movies. So, because we only have this.state.movies, we're going to say, hey, this.state.movies.filter. Thank you. Oh my God, thank you. Each time we're going to be looking at a single movie, okay? And we're only going to collect the ones that what? Movie.title dot includes, I think. Okay? I don't remember exactly how this works, guys. So what am I gonna do now? I'm just gonna open up Koku. Okay, open up JavaScript. So now let's just see. I have a string, hello world. If I do dot includes, does hello world include an H? Does it?
Yes.
I don't see anything here. Why? Because I didn't console log it. Oops.
You have to define hello as a variable or using
Well, so right now I'm just hard coding it, but obviously we could do something like this. We could say const y equals hello.
But are you allowed to do it like that? Hello in the string dot include?
Yeah, it's working right here, right?
Oh, okay.
So obviously we can change this to y, and this is going to be a variable in just a moment. Okay, y dot includes h. Does it work? Does a y? Does hello include h? Okay, does hello have a z in it, guys?
No.
So I expect when I type in z, this is going to be false. There we go. So we know our alphabet, guys. Good job. Thank you. Let's type in O. Also true. What about A? What about A? False. What about 2? False. What about hello? True. So we're now going to close this. We've proven ourselves. We don't know JavaScript. We're just making it up along the way. I don't know what I'm doing, right? So we just do this. We say movie.titles.includes what? Search term. That's all it is. Search term. Okay. And what is this going to become? Const filtered movies. Okay. So are we going to be done? Are we done here? If I start typing, will it start working? What's the next step? This dot set state. I need to update the state of the movies that I have. So we do movies, and then we say this is filtered movies. And I promise you this is gonna work. So watch this. I save, I type. Okay, let's see, have life is beautiful, right? Let's just copy beautiful. Copy beautiful. Instantaneous. We delete it. Now we have a problem. What's the problem now? No, the problem is now that I had 20 movies. I threw away 19 of them. We threw away 19 movies, and we didn't bother to keep them. And now, whenever we're looking at this, we're only looking at one potential movie. We can only have one movie to look at. So now there's a trick. Before we do as we're setting state here, we're gonna say, hey, all movies is equal to this dot state dot all movies. Okay? We're gonna say all movies here, and then we're going to, and then when we look over at all state, right, we're gonna look at all movies right here. We always look at all movies, okay? And then the next step is, when we get our data from our API, we need to add this to all movies. I think this will work, okay? Save, refresh. So watch this, we type in beautiful. Oops. What are you talking about, Kwa? Where? Oh, okay. Okay, that works. Now watch, I delete this. We get them all back. Okay? Capital B. Okay? What other movie do we have? I don't know. Your Name. Oh, it doesn't have your name like that. So how can we fix this, guys? Exactly. We could also, before we perform this this calculation, we can just say movie.to lowercase. Man, you're on fire, man, right now. Phil, you're on fire right now. Okay, we're just gonna make them both lowercase. We make them all lowercase. Okay. So now if I type in beautiful, oops, movie.title. My bad. Movie.title. Movie.title. So now if I type in beautiful, I also see the capital right here. If I type in life, I also see it. If I clear it, we get them all back. Okay? Black magic, guys. Okay, so that's 9 minutes. I'm gonna let you guys work on this. Hey Phil, let me walk through this right now. I'm gonna demonstrate Mai's problem that she's running into. Okay? Okay, so guys, remember how I told you that we constantly want to create smaller components, right? Because they're easier to think about. So a moment ago, I told you that the idea here is that we want to have a component here called navbar. And that's because that makes our app component much easier to think about, right? So So if I comment this out, right? Let's make navbar work, okay? Let's make navbar work, okay? So we create a navbar right here. We render it to the screen on line 96. We render it to the screen on line 96. Is this gonna work, guys? No. We need to create the component. We need to define the component. So do nav bar, okay? Oops. And then what do we do over here? We import it from a file called navbar. Okay? Now what's the complaint gonna be? Because I don't have navbar. Oh, my bad. We have a couple complaints. My bad. We already defined something called navbar. That's one thing. And secondly, this file does not exist. So we save, we refresh, and it's gonna say, oh shit, I don't understand that. So we're gonna create a new file called navbar.js. We're gonna run RCC, we're gonna create it, and then we're gonna hop back to our app. And then we're just gonna copy over all of these things that are required for our navbar. How do we know that this is required for the navbar? Huh? Experience, or just looking at it, reading the code, right? We can look at our code right here. We can see, oh, okay, this is where the navbar is. Okay, that seems good. So we're just gonna copy over all the body. Okay, before I do this, I want to show you guys something that works, okay? Before I do this, I'm gonna show you something that works. Save. My bad, I comment out this one. Save. Once again, this, oh, fuck, I can show you the search now, hold on. This.render navbar, okay? We're gonna call this function, okay? So this navbar, can we search through it? Does it work? Green works, right? So all we gotta do is extract out all the code inside of this one function, right? We gotta extract out this code. So I'm gonna copy all this right there, and I'm simply going to paste it into the return of render, okay? So we save it, and now we need to call it something else. We'll call this navigation. Why do I need to change the name of this, guys? Why do we have to change the name of a navbar on line 11?
Because you have the navbar tab on line 14.
Nope. Because because we're importing a component that has the exact same name. They're conflicting. And this is, think about it, when we talk about React, remember how I told you earlier today about siloing off data? We only have one very small component we already ran into this problem. Yeah, so that's one thing, right? I'm just gonna call it navigation. Right? Navigation bar. It doesn't matter. Why does it not matter? Because when we import it, we can call it whatever we want. I'm just gonna call it navbar. Okay? I know, one second. So now we're just gonna go as we go. I'm gonna delete all this because we don't need it, right? And I'm gonna delete this get unique, because Kung led me down the wrong way, shouldn't have trusted him. Okay? Now, navbar, if we scroll down here, we can render this bad boy. Watch. Oh, I got it twice, shit. Save it. Does it work? It works, but now we're gonna run into a new bug, okay? If I start typing in here, it's gonna complain, it doesn't understand something. Oh, what? I don't understand this.filter movies. Oh, what the fuck does that mean? What did we pull out of app.js that belonged to the app.js? Let's look at this. What did we pull out that belonged to the app.js? I copied and pasted this entire thing. I added one line of code. Yes, the this.filter movies, okay? So how can I call this.filter movies of app.js? Yeah, we're just going to pass this function. We need to pass this function to the navbar. What can we call this? Anything. Let's just call it anything. And we're going to say the value is this.filter movies. Okay? And I'm going to copy this. Let's save the file. And then what needs to change here? That random ass string. Okay? So we refresh. We type in green. Oops. So now we have one more problem, okay? This is the problem of binding, okay? We need to bind our this right now. And what the hell does that mean, okay? So basically, this function right here, let's give it a better name, I'm sorry. Okay, filter movies. I'm just trying to prove to you guys you can call this whatever we want. This function, filter movies, this is more advanced JavaScript, okay? You guys gonna have to practice. This is no other solution, okay? We need to basically say, I remember who my dad is, my parent is. I want you to remember who I am, okay? I don't want this function, filter movies, to ever forget who I am. Even though this filter movies is going to be, I remember the analogy I gave you guys now that I remember it was. My brother, he has a daughter. He loves me, he respects me, he's okay with me taking his daughter. But he never ever wants his daughter to think of me as her father. He wants her daughter to hang out with me and play with me and etc. But his daughter always remembers that he is dad. Okay, that's how I think of it, right? So this filter function, right? When this executes, right? The way it's written right now, when filter executes, this right here, just imagine that we copy and paste this function over here, and we paste it over here. Just think about it that way.
It works.
No, it doesn't work.
What?
It's gonna come to other problems right now, but I want you to think, this is a mental model I want you to have, okay? We're basically copying and pasting it over, right? So when we copy and paste it over, what is this right now? What is this right here?
This now is the navigation bar.
Exactly, it's the navigation bar. So basically my brother's daughter forgot who he was, right? At this point, she's forgotten him. She only knows who I am. So we want to prevent that. She needs to remember who her father is, regardless of whether or not she's with me, right? So I'm gonna uncomment this, and the solution to this, you have two ways of solving this problem. I'm gonna show you first what Charles would say that he wants you to do, and then secondly, I'm gonna show you what I want you to do, okay? This is what Charles wants you to do. He wants you to bind it right here. Anything that we throw a fat arrow in front of, a fat arrow, and then, this thing right here, right? It's automatically binded, okay? So we save it, does it work? Let's find out. So if I type in green, it does not work. Why? Exactly. So when this filter movies property was fired, what function is being fired right now? Where? Where is this function filter movies? What line?
32.
Wrong. That is not the function that was fired. It was this function right here that was fired. This is the function that was fired, right here. And inside of this function, we call another function. Okay? This is the function on line 44 that's fired. And I'm going to prove it to you. Okay? Watch. I'm going to pass in term. Now I'm passing term here, okay? When we fire this function term, where's term coming from? When we fire this anonymous function here, where's term coming from? It's coming from line 39. Right here, it's coming from line 39. So I save it, and it now works. So I'm gonna type in green, and it works. Or hello, doesn't work. Or it works. That is one way to solve this problem, okay? The other way, this is my preferred way, okay? I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to delete this because I don't want my lines to be super long, okay? I'm just gonna pass it in this way. This is shorter, but now we need to do the anonymous function up here. And will this work? If I jump back to the code, I type in works. Green works. Clearing it works. So the concept that you guys need to understand here is that when we pass functions back and forth, they have to understand this. They have to understand who they are. We never ever want them to forget that. And that's what binding is for. Some of you guys who have read documentation, old ways of writing React, you might have seen something like this, constructor, and then props, and then we have a body, and then they say this.filterMovies equals this. .filterMovies.bind.this. This is also another solution. We have 3 solutions to solve this one problem, okay? And just know that this is not the preferred way. You don't want to do this anymore. But you may run into documentation in which you see people do this. This would also work. Watch. I'm going to delete.
Just comment it.
Hold on, I got to leave it. Hold on. I need to do one more thing here. Super props, okay? Super props right here. I'm going to delete that. Okay, save it, and this is the same thing. This will also work. So now I type in type in green. Still works. But what happens when I delete the binding? What happens when my niece forgets who her father is? Trouble. That's what happens. She needs to know who her father is. Okay, so this is the This is what we call binding, guys, binding. And I don't want you to write it this way, so forget I wrote it. I just want you to know that, like, you know, that it exists. I want you to write it just like this one right here. This is how I would prefer that you write this. Why? Why? Because the horizontal space for your code editor is more valuable than the vertical space. I could scroll potentially 1,000 lines if I wanted, within like a fraction of a second, and I'm gonna do that.
Can you?
Okay, I got 1,000 lines. How quickly can I scroll this? Super fucking easy. Vertical space is free, as far as I'm concerned. Questions?
Can you can you do both way and then comment after that? I can compare. Yeah, and then with that green thing, can you do a green thing up there too?
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one right here, line 40 through 46, corresponds to this one.
The green one.
Yeah, the green one, okay? And then this one right here corresponds to this one. If I save it right now, it's gonna complain because these are both the same functions. I'm renaming it twice. But 32 to 38 corresponds to this one right here. And 52 corresponds to 40 through 46. How many ways can we get 2, guys? Is 1 plus 1 2? Is 4 divided by 2 2? Is 10 minus 8 2? They're all 2.
Yeah, just want to understand it. Can you just leave it there? Comment it out. Yeah, no, the 42 foot, can you comment it out? Just use. Yes, please, thank you.
Fine. Remember, we passed the navbar component a function, and we want that function to remember this. Okay, we want it to remember this. Just think of it that way. We need it to remember this.